said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Well, really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
Heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's gonna say she's never heard of carbs. Comedy gold you won't want to miss. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch and Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's moo-moo. The motives stink worse than Joy Behar's jog bra. I mean, assuming she jogs. Oh, wait, there she is. She has a point. Maybe I am obsessed, but some people are obsessed with Bigfoot, and they don't get to see him on TV every afternoon.
Gutfeld talks about you all the time. Those words hit like a bat cracking in a silent stadium. The View's panel froze. Joy Behar blinked. Who is he? I don't watch his show. Oh, really, Joy? That's like saying you've never heard of carbs. In one breath, she dismissed Greg Gutfeld, the Fox News firestarter with a tongue sharper than her eyeliner pencil, and in the next, ignited a blaze that couldn't be put out with all the makeup wipes at ABC. But who is Greg Gutfeld, and why is Joy pretending he's a ghost? Let's just say this denial didn't just raise eyebrows. It raised suspicion, smirked through sarcasm, and then kicked down the door to one of the most deliciously public feuds daytime television has seen in years. Imagine this: Joy Behar sitting confidently in her chair, tossing zingers like she's pitching fastballs on late night Twitter. Then boom, Greg Gutfeld hands her a takedown so brutal, even her blush looked like it was retreating. He didn't need to shout. He didn't need a graphic. His voice was cool. His delivery, surgical. He said, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her hair is natural. And then came the real body shot. Some people are obsessed with Bigfoot. Doesn't mean they don't know who he is. The audience roared. The panel fidgeted. And Joy, for once the queen of comebacks, was sitting on a silent throne.
Last week, Joy Behar accused Elon Musk of being pro-apartheid, but then begged him afterwards not to sue. Musk lawyers have yet to comment because they're still checking to see if it's legal to sue a cow.
Shots fired.
Just a legal question. I don't know why it's so upsetting. I don't make the rules in this country. All right.
Joy Behar is no rookie. She's built a fortress on sass, sarcasm, and the smirk that says, "I've seen worse, darling." But on this day, even her trademark smirk looked nervous. Greg wasn't just poking holes. He was launching a full-on siege. He dissected her past remarks, pulled receipts, dropped names, and when he brought up her comment on Tim Scott not understanding systemic racism, well, that's when things took a turn from uncomfortable to downright devastating. Greg didn't just call out hypocrisy, he scalped it, waxed it, and held it up like a trophy in front of a stunned live audience. Joy Behar says I'm obsessed with her. That's like Taco Bell saying they're too spicy for America. That's not just shade, it's a full eclipse. And he didn't stop there.
It's about the view. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth and when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're honest scum.
Joy once accused Elon Musk of being pro-apartheid, and then begged him not to sue. Musk's lawyers are still checking if it's legal to sue livestock. Greg didn't just come for her, he came for her legacy, her brand, and her entire on-air persona. It was more than a roast. It was a courtroom-style cross-examination. And the verdict? Joy's case collapsed. No objection, no appeal, just silence. Joy Behar adjusted her glasses, gave the audience a forced smirk, and tried to fire back. "Oh, please, Greg," she snapped. "You're just jealous because your show looks like a podcast hosted in a garage? You want to talk about influence? I've been sitting at this table for 20 years. Laughter. Applause? But it was nervous, the kind of laughter that happens when the audience doesn't know if this is a joke or a slow-motion train wreck.
Terrible. Republican presidential candidate Tim Scott dropped by the Furry Five earlier today. And I thought the U.S. had a distinct policy against torture. He took the opportunity to call them out over crap Joy Behar recently said about him, specifically that he doesn't get systemic racism, which is like saying Brian Stelter doesn't get Ben & Jerry's. But Joy Behar gets racism after all. She's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang out.
Behar pressed on, trying to reclaim ground. She leaned into her signature blend of sarcasm and superiority. "We have real conversations here," she declared. "We don't just throw bombs and call it comedy. We deal with real issues, not clickbait monologues." But Greg's face didn't twitch, not even a blink. He leaned back, hands folded, like a man watching someone try to fight a forest fire with a squirt gun. "You want to talk about real issues, Joy?" he said, voice still calm. "You cheered for censorship, then claimed to be a free speech warrior. You called women like Nikki Haley token minorities, then posted a rainbow flag on Instagram for Pride Month and pretended it meant something. You said people who question mandates were anti-science lunatics, then admitted you only wore your mask because it made you feel better, not because it worked." Silence. And then the pivot, the moment the audience didn't expect. "You've become the kind of person you used to roast," Gutfeld continued. "You're no longer the rebel in the room, you're the gatekeeper. You don't speak truth to power anymore, Joy. You are power. And every time someone calls you out, you hide behind your decades on air, like that erases the damage done."
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Now here's where it gets psychological. Joy has made a career out of being unshakable, but on this day, the cracks were showing. The smirk faded, the comebacks slowed, and at one point, you could almost hear her mental gears grinding, searching desperately for the snarky save that never came.
Now to some news. The feral monsters of The View say they've never heard of you-know-who. True, the show that makes mornings hell claim that my name doesn't ring a bell. It's time for
Our view on The View. Ugh.
Yeah, the witch's coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
Greg's assault wasn't physical, it was existential. He made her question not just her arguments, but the very stage she stood on. And that's when it stopped being funny and started getting fascinating. The moment aired, and within hours, social media melted down like Joy's foundation under studio lights. Some called Greg a bully, others crowned him a truth teller. But no one looked away. Clips went viral.
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sonny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter.
Memes exploded. One meme showed Greg dressed like a gladiator, holding Joy's wig in the air like a trophy. Another showed Joy looking into a cracked mirror labeled, "Who's the dumbest of them all?" It was chaos, comedy, controversy, exactly what TV execs dream of. and exactly what Joy Behar had nightmares about.
You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
This wasn't just a celebrity spat, it was a symbolic reckoning. Greg represented the outsider who refuses to play nice with daytime TV's smug elite. Joy represented the polished machine, smooth on the outside, but corroded by years of unchecked arrogance. When the two collided, it wasn't a fair fight. It was a cultural explosion, a moment that pulled back the curtain and showed what happens when a persona built on performative outrage gets ambushed by unfiltered reality.
Iris, do you think it's a good strategy on the behalf of The View to pretend we don't exist when we know they know we exist?
That's a brilliant idea. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Gutfeld. I'm sorry, not ringing the bell.
Usually at the airport.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. Huh? Really? I sit next to him? Really? No, this is what elitists do who can't, like, if you don't know who someone is, how did you know to automatically hate him? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, that's how fake and full of she is. Gutfeld, never heard of him. Don't like him. Why? Because why? That's why I just turned to one of my kids. Because why?
Yeah.
Because I don't know who he is. Never heard of him at all in my entire life. But why? Because I don't know. Because they are the last TV show to talk about high turnover. Mm-hmm. We've been rolling 3 steady for a long time.
Yeah.
We don't take breaks in the commercial to get away from each other. Well, that's what the drinking's for.
Yes.
The internet didn't just react, it detonated. The moment Greg Gutfeld's verbal carpet bomb hit The View, social media timelines turned into a digital battlefield. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, all flooded with the carnage. Hashtags like You're Joy V's Gutfeld, Just Who Is Greg, and Behar Beatdown trended with the velocity of a scandal that touches every raw nerve in America's media-saturated soul. And the memes? Oh, the memes weren't just savage, they were apocalyptic. One showed Greg Gutfeld photoshopped as the Punisher, holding a notepad labeled Receipts. Another had Joy Behar superimposed onto a crumbling Roman statue as captioned, Even empires fall when the sarcasm hits too hard. But it wasn't just about laughs. This digital explosion struck a nerve across the ideological divide. Conservatives hailed Gutfeld as the last late-night truth-teller. Liberals frantically tried to dismiss the moment as just comedy, even as their favorite talk show host stared blankly into the camera like she'd just seen her Twitter drafts read aloud in court.
Here's Joy Behar talking about refusing to share a kidney.
I could be friends with a Trump supporter. I won't give them a kidney, but I could be friends with them.
Hey, Joy, it's a kidney, not a pizza. Of course, she's kidding at first, but then she goes on to explain the moral foundation for her resentment, and it's the same one that drives all deadly ideologies.
Media analysts quickly jumped into the fray, dissecting Gutfeld's approach like it was a masterclass in narrative control, which, let's be honest, it kind of was. He didn't rant, he didn't rage, he grinned, he chuckled, he let Joy Behar sink herself with her own history of contradictions and convenient forgetfulness. His greatest weapon wasn't aggression, it was the mirror he held up. And what did that mirror reflect? A media queen caught off guard. A woman so used to controlling the narrative that when confronted with her own reflection, she flinched. It's the kind of moment that gets replayed not just for laughs, but for study. In journalism schools, in PR training sessions, maybe even in therapy, because what Gutfeld exposed wasn't just Joy's hypocrisy. It was the fragility of manufactured personas in an age where authenticity, or at least the illusion of it, reigns supreme. But while Greg's side basked in the digital glow of mission accomplished, the real power of this clash came from the deeper cultural tension it unearthed. America's growing hunger for unscripted, raw, no safety net commentary in a world drowning in curated narratives. Joy Behar didn't issue a statement. She didn't address the moment on air. She didn't clap back with a sassy tweet or drop a spicy monologue on her return episode. and that silence, deafening. It wasn't the silence of victory. It was the kind that hangs in the air after you've been exposed, and there's no script to fall back on. Her carefully built persona, the tough as nails, take no prisoners TV titan, had taken a direct hit, and America saw the cracks forming in real time. Backstage sources hinted at tension. Producers allegedly advised Joy to let it blow over. PR consultants debated whether to spin it as a joke or a moment of self-awareness. But none of it landed, because this wasn't just a PR blip, it was a credibility collapse. You see, Greg Gutfeld didn't just win an argument. He redefined the battleground. He proved that comedy, when laced with facts, history, and unapologetic wit, can be more devastating than any political expose. He didn't destroy Joy with insults. He dismantled her with context, with her own words, stretched across years, juxtaposed until even her defenders had to squint to justify them. And what happens when the court jester suddenly becomes the judge? That's what shook the establishment the most, because Gutfeld's not supposed to be the serious one. He's supposed to be the comic relief, the snarky guy on the edge of the panel, throwing jokes from the sidelines. But in this cultural clash, he stepped center stage and made the circus look like a courtroom, and Joy, the defendant, with nothing to say. Viewers noticed. Ratings shifted. People who once dismissed Greg as just another Fox News funny man began to see him as something more dangerous, credible. And Joy, for all her years in the spotlight, for all her punchlines and power plays, she now faces the one opponent she never trained for. Reality unfiltered, served with a smirk and a fact check. It's not just about who won, it's about what this showdown revealed, that the media landscape is changing, that the audience is tired of the script, that people are hungry for authenticity, even if it's wrapped in sarcasm and sealed with a laugh track. And maybe, just maybe, the real punchline is this: the loudest voice in the room isn't the one shouting, it's the one that makes everyone else go quiet.